Welcome to Adam's Athenaeum. Let's take a look together through the news and records of our times as we try to shed light upon the unvarnished truth. Thanks for coming back to listen to this episode about transphobia, children transitioning, and my opinion on the matter. I feel like on Twitter or left-wing news sites or outlets, I hear the general left talking about how transphobic the right is. First, and let's be clear, I don't know anybody who is scared of trans people, so stop using that ridiculous phrase to insult people like me who do not care if you are trans, non-binary, or gay. That's all it is. I live my life, and I want you to live your life. I don't care, nor am I afraid or curious or confused about your lifestyle. It's simply not on my radar of things to care about. You want to know what is on my radar? Treating everyone better than I treat myself. So stop with your psychological bullshit babbling. Also, I seem to hear from the left that encouraging your child to follow who they are and have sex change operations before adulthood seems to be a pretty common agreement among the left. I, however, think that if you have to be 18 to enlist in the military, smoke tobacco, purchase certain firearms, be a cop or politician, buy alcohol or go gambling, then the minimum age to even be considered for a sex change should also be 18 to 21 years old. Honestly, if you aren't allowed to volunteer to die for your country, how can you make a choice to change your genitalia in ways that may not be reversible? If you can't even hold certain jobs, how can you decide what's best for the rest of your life right now? If your brain doesn't finish fully developing until the age of around 25, how can you, at 16 or younger, know exactly who you will become and what you will want from life at 20 years old, 30 years old, or even 40? People like me are not transphobic. We just understand, and perhaps better than you, the implications and effects of your decision. Once you are an adult, it's your life to decide. But as a child, under your parents' guidance and upbringing, they make the rules. Why did I start with an opinion piece today instead of definitions? I thought this topic didn't need many words defined, but rather an opinion from someone on the center-right who has been called transphobic by people who know nothing of my actual past. I actually caught this topic by browsing the trending news on YouTube under a CBS evening news clip titled, "Families Fear New Anti-Trans Order in Texas." Let's go ahead and watch the video, then talk about it afterwards.
Tonight, a judge in Texas has temporarily blocked the state from investigating parents who obtain gender transitioning medical care for their children. The governor of Texas had directed Child Protective Services to open the investigations, calling the treatments, quote, child abuse, unquote. 9 cases were opened, and despite tonight's ruling, for many, the damage is already done. Here is CBS's Omar Villafranca.
This 14-year-old is the transgender son of Amber and Adam Briggle. They don't want us to use his first name because last week, Child Protective Services showed up at their house to find out if his parents were providing care related to their son's transition.
I was in the fetal position on the floor, gripping the floor because the room wouldn't stop spinning.
The stakes have never been this high or real for us.
Last month, Republican Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton issued a legal opinion that said gender-affirming procedures and treatments, when performed on children, can legally constitute child abuse. Texas Children's Hospital, the country's largest pediatric facility, paused all gender-affirming therapy for children. Republican State Senator Charles Perry agrees with the directive's intent.
I'm faced with the welfare of a child that, and I think the data supports it, that is not mature enough to have these decisions being made for them to understand.
In 2016, the Briggles invited Paxton and his wife to their house for dinner to talk about transgender issues. Paxton even took a picture with their son.
They know we're not child abusers. They know we're not child abusers. He sat at my table and broke bread with my family and then says that families like mine should not exist. It's a political stunt.
This directive is being challenged in court. But for now, the Briggles and other parents of nearly 14,000 transgender Texas teenagers feel their future is up in the air. Omar via.
All right, so as usual with everything else these days, everything we talk about somehow is also political. So let's start there. Essentially, the state wants to be able to investigate child abuse under the pretenses of minors who receive medical transitional surgeries. First, I will never agree to giving power to the state, especially when that power will be used to firstly investigate your children and secondly to investigate you. Second, if you support your child, they want to seek to charge parents for child abuse at a minimum. And third, if you don't support your child transitioning, you're a supposed piece of garbage who's transphobic and doesn't understand the mental struggle some people have to go through. So what are we really arguing about here? The left seems to argue that unless we give in to the demands of the children, we will face a mass suicide crisis. Here is my argument against that. The data. The clinical literature, as referenced by Dr. Jordan Peterson, indicates that 95% of the time, a child who is confused about their sexual identity will revert to their original or birthed sex if not encouraged to pursue habits of the opposite sex. I'm not an expert on the matter, but he is. Why won't we listen to the experts? Instead, we take truths from news opinion pieces. Let's take a few minutes to listen to some of Dr. Jordan Peterson's words from the Joe Rogan Experience, and this video editing was provided by Jordan Peterson Notes, which is their own separate YouTube channel.
I actually have a relatively feminine personality structure because I'm pretty high in negative emotion and I'm pretty high in agreeableness, and that's the typical feminine structure. And that's an interesting discussion to have too, because you know we have this idea in our culture that you can be a woman born in a man's body, and that's not true. But you can definitely be a man with a feminine personality structure. Like 10% of men are as feminine in their personality as the average woman is. And vice versa, 10% of women are as masculine in their personality as the average man is. Now you can move those boundaries around and say, well, it's 5% and 40 or something. It doesn't matter. But the point is there's plenty of men who are as feminine in their personality as the average woman. That doesn't mean they're in the wrong body. It just means that men and women are more alike than different, even though they are different, and that there's huge range within both genders. And we need to know that. Right now, if you look at teenagers, for example, who want to switch genders, 95% of them are unbearably confused. That's what's causing that. And I think there's other reasons too. I think this is a conjecture. When the trans teenagers came after me when I opposed Bill C-16 in Canada on compelled speech grounds, I spent quite a bit of time watching them. And I already kind of knew about that fluid identity crowd. So when I was at Harvard, piercing and tattooing started to become a cultural rage. And I was interested in, well, who's doing this? Because I knew it was a practice that was limited to criminal subtypes and outcasts for a long time. So, for example, if you worked in the circus, you were likely to be tattooed, you know, and you toured around the circus, and that was a kind of carny life, and it was an outsider life. And if you were a prisoner, same thing. But then all of a sudden it started to make its inroads into the popular culture. So we studied a group of early adopters of tattooing and piercing from the perspective of personality. Like, who are these people? And they were all highly creative people. Well, and creativity is a trait, and all people who aren't creative, that's wrong. In fact, most people aren't creative at all. And I can explain that later, but they're not. We developed a scale called the Creative Achievement Questionnaire, which assesses lifetime contribution to 13 different creative domains. And that your scores would range from 0, I have no training or talent in this area, to, I think it was 8. I'm an internationally recognized expert in this area, right? And so 70% of people, if you sum their scores across all 13 domains, scored 0. And I ask audiences, like, how many portraits have you painted? 0. How many songs have you composed? 0. How many plays have you written? 0. How many recipes have you invented?
Let me stop you.
So the tattooed types are high. They were high in creativity.
Okay.
And a lot of these people who are fluid in their identity are actually high in trait openness, and they do have fluid identities. And some of them are feminine men and masculine women. So yeah, but that doesn't mean that surgery is the cure for that. It does not mean that. I knew a kid in Toronto who was on the autistic spectrum, and a lot of the people who are manifesting serious issues with gender identity are on the autistic spectrum.
This is like Abigail Schreier's work and rapid onset gender dysphoria amongst women.
Yeah, well, that's a different thing, the rapid onset. That's more like, so part of the reason I objected to Bill C-SOX 16 to begin with was because I knew full well as a clinician that as soon as we messed with fundamental sex categories and changed the terminology, we would fatally confuse thousands of young girls. I knew that because I knew the literature on psychological contagion. And it stretches back like 500 years, that literature, 300 years. It's all outlined in a book by Henri Ellenberger called History of, what's the name of the book? History of Psychoanalytic Ideas. It doesn't matter. It's Henri Ellenberger, and it's his main work if you want to look it up. And so psychological contagions are very common. And so one of them, for example, was the satanic ritual abuse accusations that emerged in daycares in the 1980s. And that was a consequence of women going into the workforce en masse, leaving their children with strangers and starting to have pathological fantasies about it, especially if they were borderline schizophrenic. And those fantasies propagated into the population. Okay, so you see people with blue hair, the blue-haired crowd. Well, they're the same people that were doing tattooing and piercing, and they often are literally the same people because they have piercings. It's like, well, they have mutable identities. They're not stable in their identities. They're creative. Creative people, by definition, aren't stable in their identities. That's what makes them creative. Now, the downside of that is creativity is a high-risk, high-return strategy. Your new idea is probably stupid and wrong, and maybe it's fatal. But now and then, it's unbelievably successful. And also, now and then, our culture would die without it. So we always have this problem because we have to maintain stability because otherwise everything degenerates into chaos. But mere stability won't work because the future is different from the past. Like technically different in a non-deterministic way. It's actually different. And so then we have to figure out, well, how do we modify our memories or our traditions at a rate that enables us to keep up with the culture? And the answer to this is, in part, we let creative people play multiple games on the fringe, and some of them are radically successful, and then we copy them. I also think, by the way, that part of what we're seeing in late adolescence with this insistence on the primacy of felt identity is the reemergence of suppressed fantasy play that should have taken place at between, say, 3 and 5. That's been suppressed by the imposition of technological artifacts like television and phones, and by the absence of free play among children who are hyper-supervised.
So the fantasy play is imperative to develop your identity by trying out a bunch of different patterns of behavior and ways to be.
Yes, so when my son was about 2, his sister was about 3 and had a little gaggle of friends, and they used to dress him up like a fairy princess. And this didn't happen for like years. It happened for a couple of weeks, and he was playing along. And I went down there, and I'm a Northern Albertan, and so the gender roles there were fairly finely defined. And I was watching this, I thought, is it really a good thing that he's like got wings on, a little fairy hat and a wand and a dress? Is that okay? And I talked to Tammy about it. I said, the girls are dressing Julian up like a princess. And it kind of, I have qualms about it, but I'm not sure what to do because he was having a good time and he was playing with the girls, and I only had qualms for like about 2 hours. I went and thought about it. I thought, okay, what's going on here? Well, he's playing with the girls. Okay, should he play with girls? Yes, definitely. He should play with girls. Absolutely. Adult males should play with women. Like, we should be able to play with people of the opposite sex. Like, so he's learning to play with the girls. Good. Is he enjoying it? Yes. Are they bullying him? No. Are the girls enjoying it? Yes. That's all good. Okay, so what does it mean he's playing at being a girl? Oh, he's trying to understand what it means to be a girl. Well, how do you understand that when you're 3 or maybe when you're 50? You play at it, which means you allow that pattern of being to inhabit you and you experiment with it. Now, a lot of older transgender types, the late onset types, they're playing. They just don't know it. Now, there are often people who have a kind of a rigid identity, and part of their escape from that rigid identity is to develop some of the characteristics that are typical of the opposite.
To sum up the previous clip, people like Dr. Peterson and I can understand what's most likely happening, psychologically speaking, with younger people today and how transgenderism seems to affect people with certain personality characteristics, some people who weren't raised entirely well-rounded, and simply confusion. This is not a condemnation of all or any trans persons. This is just science. It's data and truth. And as we say on my channel, sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes the truth slaps our opinions around and we have to adjust our worldview or step out of the bounds of reality. Too many people would rather shy away from facing the problem rather than trying to learn about themselves and face hard facts. To conclude, just be you. Just don't act like an asshole when someone doesn't agree to calling you how you want to be called. Freedom of speech means the right to offend. Freedom of speech protects ugly and hurtful speech, more so than it does pretty speech. If you are you, I will treat you how you want to be treated. If you try to compel my words, voice, or opinions, just get out of here. You are the problem. I'm a person who can respect all people and not expect others to live how I expect them to. I can treat all people the same, no matter their sexual identity or orientation or the color of their skin. Can you do that? And that's where I'll end today's episode. I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos, so please subscribe, that way you don't miss out on my new videos that I post every Thursday. Feel free to share this video with all of your friends and family, and remember, if you have more to add, let's have a civil discussion in the comments section. I'll see you next week.